Alright guys, Jameson and Alex here talking about the last video we have for the Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft.
Yes.
Today we're going to be discussing our very own Domain of Dread.
Scary.
And that would be the Domain of Aesyrblod. So, with this, me and Alex talked about a lot of different things, going through all of the domain rules, which you can check out in our other video on there.
Yes.
But before we get too far into this, don't forget, this is the last video for the Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft giveaway. So, as well, make sure, if you want to be entered in that you comment, like, subscribe to the channel, so you're entered to win that giveaway, which we'll be announcing very soon.
Yes.
Also, we have our giveaway for 10,000 subscribers. Same thing, like, comment, subscribe. You'll be entered for that as well.
4-book player bundle.
Yes. It's a very good,
Woo!
Nice thing on there. So, we'll just jump straight into it. We talked a lot about the different ways we could go about building this, and there was a bit of a we wanted to make something that was interesting, that had some good background and flavor to it.
Yep.
So we took a little bit of time extra to try to flesh out the background story, and essentially what I'm going to do here, I think to start us off, probably the best thing would be to kind of give you the background story, just the general broad story that we came up with, that we based this whole thing on.
Yep.
As that tends to be the easiest thing to do with these Domains of Dread.
Indeed.
So, some background on here. We have the Dark Lord of this domain is the Voivode Daneshti Basarab. He had a noble cause that just went off the rails. It tends to be the case with these villains. Yes. He was a working class hero, a craftsman, who wants to help his wife Demetria and his infant son Enridi to get ahead in a tough city. He's on the edge of losing his shop, his home, his life. The tyrant ruler of the city of Otost had requested the artisans in the city to bring him an offering for the birth of his newborn son. Daneshti learned of a material known as Aesyrite that could be formed into any weapon or armor. Unknown to him, the material is actually the remains of an old dead god known as Aesyrblod. He eventually finds some and brings a small piece home. The Aesyrite talked to him in his dreams, persuades him to see that with the god's knowledge and power that he could help more than his family, more than the city, potentially the whole world and more. On the return trip, he finds his old childhood friend Vladimir, whom he had a falling out with back in the day, has also stumbled upon this material, the Aesyrite. He hears whispers and thoughts to himself that he should kill his old friend, because he could take all of the Aesyrite for himself.
Right. This is his stuff. He found it first.
And of course, he does.
Yes.
Starting down the journey.
Yes.
He returns to his home and crafts a weapon with which he presents to the tyrant before killing him and taking the throne and the newborn son as his own, naming him Vedrune. Daneshti, after taking over, enslaves the entire city to harvest the Aesyrite and continues to craft and create powerful weapons, and now his desire for power grows to the neighboring regions. His wife Demetria confronts him, but he imprisons her in a state of suspended animation in the Aesyrite with the intention of releasing her when she comes to her senses and he has brought about the change he desires. As time passes, a masked figure attempts to steal and sabotage the Aesyrite from one of the mines, but Daneshti catches the thief and kills him. It was his own son, Enridi. It was then that the mists took him. And, of course, with the mists taking him, the Domain of Aesyrblod was created.
Yes.
And, of course, the only weakness Daneshti Basarab has is the jewelry that he originally crafted for his wife that has to be used to destroy him. So he has to die, essentially, by his own hand.
So it was with, from our other video, you referenced some of the other things that you do within Domains of Dread. One of the things is what torments the Dark Lord while he's still here in his domain. He cannot move or interact with any of the materials. Like, he's been around it so much, he can't use it anymore. It's like his ability to connect with it, it's gone. But he still gets the constant whispers from the material tormenting him about his failures and where he could have done more before he lost his connection to it, or could have done a better job with this, could have created more here if he'd expanded his territory sooner. It constantly judges him and tells him where he messed up, where he could have been better.
Right. And part to go along with that, too, is because he can't interact with the Aesyrite, he can't free his wife.
Also true.
And he would be stuck in his suit of armor that he can't take it off.
Correct.
So, as part of that, being stuck in the armor, of course, everyone around him would fear him.
Yes.
And he wouldn't really do well there. And I think part of the thought, too, would be, just in my mind, the way I imagine it is, like, the more Aesyrite he's around, the more, pressing the voices.
The more maddened he is. Because if he's just, like, in his throne room and there's just pieces everywhere, he's a little off. But if he ever tries to go down into, like, to the mine at all, he just goes completely nuts while he's down there. The type of like creatures, monsters you would see around the actual like worked Aesyrite, so maybe like where the store, like the forge area, the stores where they've actually mined it and broken it apart from its vein ore into actual like workable pieces. Right. There would be these like almost haunted constructs of like the blood god essence that's in there.
Right, like fueling them magically.
Fueling these little,
I think like helmed horrors and stuff like that.
Yeah, these creatures that are basically enchanted pieces of like the ore that move around and whatnot. But in where the old, like inside the mine area, the fields,
like the raw materials.
Where closer to the raw materials, you get more of aberrations. Maybe they have extra arms and extra body parts and heads, and they're maybe kind of more on the oozy side, liquidy body forms.
Like they're almost trying to reform the body of
the old god itself. You're trying to, they move weird. Aberrations is probably the primary monster type we're thinking. Maybe oozes, that kind of stuff. And as far as maybe story, quest hook things that either bring you there or what you would do if you got magically transported here for some reason.
Right.
There's, you're trying to save the wife. Maybe she has some connection back to where you're from.
Right.
Somebody said she's got information that can be helpful for you, but you got to save her first.
Or like how to destroy Daneshti. Or
yes.
Like
the actual Aesyrite itself.
Right.
Maybe someone who has worked with it before. Or you've got these this knowledge that says if you do this a certain way, you don't get succumb to the curse about it, and things actually can be used in small amounts.
Yeah, or
certain
you need to craft a powerful weapon or something,
right.
And some blacksmith needs it to make something.
Maybe you need to steal a weapon from his chamber itself. Maybe there is a weapon he's already forged that you need that can be super effective against some foe you're seeing back where you're from.
Yeah, maybe like the blood of the old god is like. Maybe you're fighting some other old god or something else, and it's like they were rivals or something.
Yeah,
so they have like
its only weakness is something
like,
crafted from a blood of another god,
right?
Kind of thing. And finally, the stolen child, a veteran himself, bringing him to his true father, because maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't know, because you could play it. You can play it either way here, whether he remembers everything about what was about being stolen and being
right.
Not that Daneshti's not his real father. Maybe he does. We've kind of gone back and forth on that. How much does he know? How much does he, not know about that kind of thing? But that could be another quest hook there as well.
I think one of the things too that would be interesting is to have Vedrune actually be an immortal
as
well. Mm-hmm. And another part of the torment is maybe like maybe he does remember everything, and he hates Daneshti because of it, and he finds out like everything that really happened, how he took him and everything, and maybe Daneshti like. Vedrune is his only family left.
Yeah.
And he wants to try to fix things, but he never can.
Yeah.
So, and they're both immortal, so can never be fixed.
Yep. And finally, just general locations. You have, of course, the town of Otosh itself. You're going to have, people that still are there, trapped inside and still have to deal with this, this new tyrant who's much worse than the other tyrant was, and all the creatures and how they live and survive in this territory. That's all going to be a thing. And you have the Crimson Tower. It's the keep where where the Darklord reigns, where his guards are, and all his creatures are there, and his fort all made everything.
Like I just think of like all the constructs that basically are like his only allies were the creations he made before the downfall, because now everyone's either dead or gone, or they've just left because they don't want to be around him, because everything he's done.
They just stay out of his way, stay out of sight, out of mind as best they can. And of course, you have the Aesyrite mines and fields, out in the area there, and how you interact with that, because maybe they still do grow crops, but maybe at nighttime these creatures really come out more in full force, where it's really dangerous to be out at night.
Yeah.
Maybe there's just smaller ones out during the day that you can like. Shh, go away. Get back. Get back. Like mice and bug-sized versions, but at nighttime the big guys come out and you're like, no, get back inside.
Yeah. Definitely.
So yeah, and that's something when you're making your own, one of these, you can always kind of play with different things and add there. So it was something that I didn't, when we first sit down, I was like, what if we did this? I was like, oh okay. I was like, and then the more we kind of like, what if you did this? Oh, this is kind of a cool idea. You kind of like bounce back and forth and bounce off each other in terms of ideas. So I really enjoy going through this process.
The hard part was getting started. And then once we got started, we're like, well, what about this? And then this happens. And then it's like a chain reaction. Once you start getting going, you get on a roll. So, and I think it would be really helpful to do it with another person as well. Yes. And you kind of bounce.
Unless you're just a super creative person, then by all means do you.
For sure.
I'm not. But it's like, a lot of times he thinks of something that kind of spurs me into something, and then kind of back and forth we go. Right. And again, for somebody, if you're like me, who struggles with creating stuff from scratch, as we did here, if you're clever, you'll catch some of the things.
Some references.
Yeah, there's definitely some references to other, well-known franchises and things, and definitely
there's some Easter eggs for sure.
There's definitely some, Easter eggs is the right way thing there too. If you're able to catch some of that stuff, good on you.
Yeah, let us know in the comments down below. Let's see if anyone catches on some of the more obscure ones.
We will be watching. You'll for sure get that thumbs up like from us if you catch any of the Easter eggs. So there's a handful of them in there.
Yeah, for sure.
But a fun process, and there's a bunch of them in the book already, obviously. But cool to kind of make your own and kind of stretch your creative muscle a little bit, but just the framework the book gives you.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely enjoyed this, guys. Definitely suggest, if you have the book, to try it out. If you don't have the book, to watch our video on how to do it, and you can still try it anyway. Because
it may be harder for you to go back and reference it, watch the video again, and you watch it again.
So there you go. Definitely a fun process. Encourage you to do it.
Yeah.
That'll be all for today, guys. It's the end of the Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft series, so hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so our new videos are coming out. Let us know in the comments down below what you think about our domain, or if you've made your own domains. We'd love to read that kind of stuff as well. Yeah. So, as always, thanks for watching.